Hello everyone and welcome to this video on algorithmic trading and Python. So in this video, I want to show you how to create some buy and sell signals using the relative strength indicator, or RSI for short, and the moving average convergence divergence, or MACD for short. All right, now I'm currently on Google's website called colab.research.google.com, and I'm on it because it makes it really easy to get started writing Python code. So if you're going to code along with me, then go to this website and log in using your Google account to get started writing your Python code. So to get started, go ahead and click on File, then click on New Notebook in Drive, and this will open up a new tab for you and then eventually a new cell. All right. Now, this is where we will start coding, but before that, you can get the code in this video or the data set or just support this channel on patreon.com/computerscience, and I will leave a link for that in the description below. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's first import the libraries. Okay, so I'm going to import pandas as PD. I'm going to import numpy as NP, and then I'm going to import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and that'll do it. So I'm going to run this cell by clicking that button to the left. This will let me know if I made any mistakes, and we're going to give it just a little bit of time. All right, we get a check mark, we're good. I'm going to create a new cell by clicking that code button in the top left. Now here, I'm going to create a function to calculate the RSI, which is the relative strength index. So I'm going to call this function calculate underscore RSI. And I like what Google suggested here. So it's going to take in some data and it's going to give us a window equal to 14. All right, so next I want to calculate the delta. So I'm going to set delta to be equal to data close.diff. And I like what Google has here as well. So I'm just going to tab over for now. All right, so let's put some comments here. So here we're calculating the difference in closing prices. All right, and then here we have a variable called gain. We're setting it equal to delta dot where delta is greater than 0. We're going to put the value 0. All right, so I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to put this in left parentheses and right parentheses, and then put dot rolling window equals window, and then dot mean left parentheses, right parentheses. All right, and I see that Google is giving me some more suggestions. So I like it. I'm just going to tab over and I'm going to get rid of this last loss here because that's exactly what I was going to do with the loss variable here. All right, but I do see this might be a little confusing where I have window equals window. So I'm going to change this to be period. I'm going to change this one here to be period. And let's change our parameter to be period. Okay, and now I think that's a little bit clear. Okay, so now we have gain, and gain is the calculated average gain, right? So we're doing a average gain for that 14-day period, and 14 comes from up here. And speaking of that, why are we using this 14 period for RSI? Well, that's because the 14 period RSI is widely used because it provides a good balance between sensitivity and reliability, making it effective for identifying overbought and oversold conditions in the market. So that's why we're using 14, but of course you can change this value to be whatever you want it to be. All right, now let's take a look at this loss variable. So loss is equal to negative delta dot where delta is less than 0. We're going to put in the value 0. And then we have a rolling moving average for that 14-day period. Okay, so that's all we're doing there. All right, so now that we have our gain and we have our loss, we can actually just use the RSI formula. So let's go ahead and calculate the RS, which is the relative strength. So I'm gonna create a variable called RS and set it equal to gain divided by loss. Okay, and I'm looking at this suggestion by Google and everything looks really good. I'm just gonna tab over. All right, so we have RS now, and that's just the gain divided by the loss. That's the relative strength. And then we have our formula for RSI, which is 100 minus 100 divided by 1 plus RS. Okay, and you can get this formula anywhere online, and you can see for yourself. All right, so now we have calculated the RSI. After that, we're going to just return the RSI. Simple enough. Let's go ahead and run this cell. All right, let's create a new cell by clicking that code button. Now in this cell, I'm going to create a function to calculate the MACD. Okay, and what is MACD? MACD is moving average convergence divergence. Moving average convergence divergence. All right, so let's go ahead and create that function. I'm just going to call it calculate underscore MACD. And I like Google's suggestion here, so I'm just going to tab over. And actually, I'm going to change, instead of period here, we're actually going to put window, because I don't think it'll matter too much now. So I'm going to put window instead of period. Okay. So what do we have here? We have our parameters data. We have our parameters short window, which we're setting equal to 12. We're defaulting it to 12. And then we have our long window, which is equal to 26, which we're defaulting to 26. And we have our signal window, which is equal to 9. So we're defaulting it to 9. And similar to the RSI period up top, when we set it equal to 14, that's because it's beneficial a lot of times for RSI to be at the period 14. Well, same for MACD. A lot of times it's beneficial for these periods to be these defaults here. Okay, so 12, 26, and 9 are based on historical analysis and have been or have become standard due to their effectiveness in identifying trends and momentum in stock prices. And so that's why we're defaulting it to these values. But just like before, you can change these values to however you want or however you like. Okay. All right, so with that being said, let's press enter and let's start calculating the short-term exponential moving average. So I'm going to create a variable called short underscore EMA, and I'm going to set this equal to data close dot EWM, and we're going to set span equal to short window. And I see Google's suggestion here, and I like it. So adjust will be equal to false, and then we're going to have our mean. And so this should calculate our short-term EMA, and then Google's giving a suggestion to create a variable called long EMA, and it's equal to basically the same thing, except for the span is equal to long window instead of short window. So I'm just going to tab over, and now we have our short-term exponential moving average, and we have our long-term exponential moving average. Okay, so that looks really good. Okay, so now with these two variables, the short-term EMA and the long-term EMA, we can calculate the MACD line. So there's a nice little formula for that. And we're just going to create a variable called MACD, and we'll set it equal to short underscore EMA minus long underscore EMA, just like Google suggested here. And I like everything that it put here, so I'm just going to tab over. Okay, so now we have calculated the MACD. You can see this formula online as well. And after that, Google created a variable for us called signal, and signal is equal to MACD dot EWM, span equal to the signal window, adjust equals close, and then we have our dot mean. So we're just calculating the signal line here, right? We're using that signal window to calculate our signal line, and we're using an exponential moving average here. All right, and then Google created this variable called histogram, which we're not going to use. So I'm just going to get rid of it. And then it's returning MACD, which is good, but I also want it to return the signal line. So I'm going to put comma signal here. And now that looks pretty good. So let's run this cell. Okay, so I'm going to create a new cell. Okay, now I want to read in the stock data. So I'm gonna create a variable called data and set it equal to pd.read_CSV, and I just tabbed over to make it a little bit easier. And we're gonna be getting a data set called Amazon_data.csv. Okay, so of course, if I run this right now, I'm going to get an error because we don't have this data set loaded. So let's go ahead and load it by clicking that folder or files icon and then clicking the upload icon. And I'm going to upload Amazon_data. And we're going to get a little warning, which is fine. So I'm just going to click OK. And now we can see the data set right here. So now if I rerun this cell, we get a little check mark. So everything's good. So let's exit out of this left pane and let's take a look at the data. So I'm just going to type data here. And I'm just going to put data instead of Google suggestion data.head because I want to see basically how many rows and columns we have. So let's go ahead and run this. All right, and now we can see we have 2,514 rows of data and we have 7 columns. And we can see that the date is from 12/16/2014 or December 16th, 2014, all the way to December 11th, 2024. So about 10 years worth of data. All right, and we have our columns up here, of course. Okay, so we have that close price that we're going to be using. It's just close here, but we also have all these other columns that we could use, which is the open price. We have obviously the date. We can use the high price. We have the low price. Again, that close price. We have the adjusted close price, and then we have the volume. All right, so we're just going to be using the close price, but you can change this program however you want to. If you want to use a different column, instead of using close here, you can just use a different column name. Okay, so you can adjust this program however you want. Let's go ahead and create a new cell by clicking that code button in the top left. Now that we have our data set, and we're going to calculate the RSI. So I'm going to do this by creating a column in my data set called RSI. So press enter data, and we're going to put in RSI. All right, and we're going to set this equal to calculate_RSI, and we're going to input data, and then let's go ahead and show the data. So I'm just going to tab over. Now we could put in our period, right? Our window or RSI window. So I could set period equal to 14, but of course it's already defaulted. I like what Google's suggesting here as well to calculate MACD. We'll do that as well. We'll do both. Okay, so right now I'm going to talk more about this. So I could put period equals 14, but it's already defaulted, so there's no point. But if I want to change that parameter to be something else like 19, I would, put period equals 19 here. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. We're just going to keep the default for now. And then Google also suggested that we go ahead and calculate the MACD, which is something I was going to do. So I think this looks good. It's creating a column called MACD and a column called signal in our data set and setting it equal to our function that we created called calculate_MACD. And then of course, it's giving us all of these parameters, but it did not close it. So I'm gonna put the right parentheses here. All right. Okay, so now I don't really need to use these parameters because I'm going to keep them like their default values. So I'm just going to get rid of it. But if you want to change up, these periods or these windows, you can obviously change these values here. But I'm just going to keep the default. So I'm just going to get rid of all of this and just put data. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. And of course, we're going to just show the data after all of this calculating of the RSI and MACD line and MACD. I'm sorry, of the RSI, MACD, and the signal line. So let's go ahead and run this. And let's scroll over. And now we can see our 3 new columns, which are RSI, MACD, and signal. All right, all in our same data set. So let's create a new cell. And now we're really kind of creating our strategy. So let's go ahead and create a function to generate trading signals. All right, so I like Google's suggestion here for the function name, generate underscore signals data. So I'm just going to tab over. It looks good. I am looking at what it's suggesting here, and we're not going to go that route. We're going to create buy and sell signals. So I like what Google put there. So we're going to create a variable called buy signals and set it equal to an empty list, and then create a variable called sell signals and set it equal to an empty list as well. So we're just initializing a list to store sell and buy signals. All right, so now I want to loop through our data set. So Google has some pretty good suggestions here. I'm taking a look at it. So I'm going to just tab over, and we're going to do for I in range, we'll just go to the length of data. All right, so we're going to loop through the whole data set, and we're going to check if the RSI at position I is less than, Google put 30 here, we'll put 40. And the MACD at position I is greater than the signal line at position I. So if the signal is below the MACD line, right, and the RSI value is below 40, then this is a buy condition, a buy signal condition. Okay. And so I like what Google put here. I'm just going to tab over. It's saying, okay, we have a buy signal, so we're going to append the close price at that current position to our buy signal. Okay. And then of course that means that we have no sell signal, so sell underscore signal dot append np.nan. We're not going to append any value. All right, so I think that looks good. Press enter, and then I'm going to create an else if statement, and Google has made a good suggestion here, so I'm just going to tab over. So now else if the RSI at position I, if it's greater than 60 and the MACD at position I is less than the signal, so it's below the signal, then we have a sell signal condition. And that means that our buy signal will be nothing. So we're going to append np.nan, and our sell signal will have the close price at position I. All right, and then we need an else condition. So I like what Google put here. I'm just going to tab over. So else, we're going to have buy signals dot append nothing and sell signals append nothing. So if there is no buy or sell signal, we're not going to put anything. And then of course, we're just going to return the buy signal and the sell signal. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and run this. All right, I'm going to create a new cell. And now in this cell, we're going to go ahead and generate those signals. So let's add the buy signal and sell signal to our data set. So data buy, oh, I like this actually. I'm just going to tab over. So here we are creating two columns. One is called buy underscore signal price, and the other one's called sell underscore signal price, and we're setting it equal to our generate signals. And so it's returning the buy signals here, which is at position 0, and here this is returning the sell signals, which is at position 1, which is fine. This will do it, but I'm going to change a few things. Let's go ahead and get rid of underscore price. I'm just going to call it buy signal and sell signal. And you know what, just to change it up a little bit so that Google isn't writing all the code, let's just control X this, come up here, put a comma, control V for pasting it. And we're going to set this equal to just equal generate underscore signals data. And so this will basically be the same thing. All right, and then I do like Google's suggestion to show the data. So I'm just going to tab over. I'm going to show the data. So let's run this. All right, and scroll over. We have our buy signal and we have our sell signal. All right, and we can see a lot of NaN values here. Hopefully it's not all of them. And let's create a new cell. All right, so now I want to plot the stock price and signals. So did I put a comment up here? Let's put a comment up here. All right, generate the buy and sell signals. Okay, and I didn't really comment this code either. A little bit. All right, we're just gonna let it go for now. Let's scroll back down. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot the stock price and signals. So I'm gonna type pt.figure, and I'm gonna give this a figure size equal to, we'll go 14 by 7. All right, and then let's plot the data. So type pt.plot, and I like that. Just gonna tab over. So we're gonna plot data close. The label will be the close price. I'm gonna put a comma here, and I'm gonna put alpha equals 0.5. And let's add, yes, a scatter. So now we're gonna add a scatter plot for the buy and sell signals. And I like what Google put here, so I'm just gonna tab over. We're gonna put in the data.index, and that's fine. So these are gonna be integer values on the x-axis, which is fine. And then we're going to put in our buy signal. The label will be buy signal, and then we're gonna have a marker, which will be the up character. So it's gonna tell us to buy here, and then the color of that marker will be green. So that's fine. And then for the sell signal, which is right below, almost the same thing. We're still gonna have our index numbers on the x-axis. We're going to have our sell signal on the y-axis, which is, of course, going to be that close price, right, of where to sell. The label will be sell signal. The marker will be a down character, and then the color will be red. All right, so that's fine. That works. All right, so I'm going to type next plt dot title, and I'm going to call it, I like Amazon stock price. Let me just tab over, and I'm going to put instead Amazon stock price and trading signals. Okay, and then on the x-axis will be, it's not really the date, but maybe I'll put days, right? And then on the y-axis will be the price, and then we're going to have a legend. All right, and then plt.show to display the plot. Okay, so I think this looks good. Let's add a comment up top. Here I'm just going to put plot the stock price and signals. And let's run this and let's see what it looks like. All right, so there we go. We have our legend up here. We can see our buy signal, our sell signal characters, and our close price in this blue. So this looks really good. And so now with this, you can basically adjust this however you want to really get a better trading strategy, right? So we can see that we have a sell signal here in red. It looked like two more sell signals here in red, another sell signal here, here, here look like it might be three sell signals all bunched together. And then we have one buy, or it might be two buys. I can barely tell, but I know we have a buy signal here, at least one buy signal, and then a bunch of sell signals, and then one buy signal. And that buy signals, these buy signals look pretty decent. And it's not many of them until we get over here. So we can adjust these numbers however we want to. You can change this program such that it doesn't have a buy signal, or I'm sorry, it doesn't have a sell signal until you get, maybe four or more sell signals. And then you can sell. And then you can have something like a buy signal only after you have at least one sell signal. Okay? Or you can do some other type of combination of possibility where you're selling a a number of shares based off of how many or a percentage of your stock based off of how many sell signals and buy signals are there. All right, so there's basically a lot of things you can do to make this program better and to enhance it. Of course, you can change the numbers around here. You don't have to use 40 and 60. You can use whatever numbers you want to here, 0 to 100. And you can change the parameters for the RSI and the MACD function, right? You can change these numbers up here. Okay, so you can change this strategy, like I said, however you want to, but this is just to kind of get you started, and hopefully you learned a lot and enjoyed this video. So thanks for watching. Again, if you would like to get this code or dataset or just support the channel, then you can do it on patreon.com/computerscience. And the link is in the description below. Again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.